All right, welcome back. Welcome back. The computer is doing all kinds of wild and crazy things today. All right. Okay, here's the thing about going live, that everything happens in real time. And for those who know me, you've often heard me say that blessed are the flexible, for they shall not be bent out of shape. And that's kind of what happens. That's what the world of advocacy is like. You never know what's going to happen, and you got to be willing to flow. You got to be willing to keep that composure and keep it moving, just like we've been doing for the last 24 months. All right. So, and I'm here with HCDVCC Connects, and we're going to go ahead and get right into today's conversation. Let's see. See that Rebecca put over there, happy Monday. So for those who will come back and watch the replay, and hopefully people will be coming back to watch the actual live, I want to thank you. And again, apologize for that little glitch. But you know what? It's kind of like what happens in life. Yeah, get something planned out and bam, it's over. However, we are coming back, and that's going to be kind of the focal point of our conversation today, is about coming back. We know that April is Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month. And so here is the reality, is that, we know that about every 2.5 minutes that there is a sexual assault. About 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually assaulted or abused before they turn 18. And today we are going to be talking with the CEO of Texas Association Against Sexual Assault. And part of the work that they do is to help people to what? Bounce back in the aftermath of sexual violence. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up Rose Luna, who is the Chief Executive Officer for the Texas Association Against Sexual Assault. I am so glad to have her here. I want to say that we go back almost 20 to 25 years, and I am just so proud of everything that Rose has accomplished. So as we get ready to bring her up, let's have her. Hey, Rose.
Hi, I am feeling right at home with all the little glitches, because that is just where I live and what happens to me every day. So this is great. Thanks for having me.
Let's just keep us focused.
Just testing, making sure we're still flexible. That's all.
Exactly. However, it is no glitch. It is no glitch that you are now the Chief Executive Officer for Texas Association Against Sexual Assault, and you've been in that office for about 4 or 5 years now.
Yes, September of 2017 is when I officially started, and it feels like just yesterday and a million years ago, all at the same time. It's really odd.
Well, awesome. Well, look, bring us up to speed as to your career with TAASA, and who is TAASA?
So yeah, I started TAASA. It's been about 20 years actually now. And I feel so old when I say that, but again, another one of those things that feels like yesterday. But I started at TAASA doing more like like the business side of things, because I have a business degree from Texas A&M University. Go Aggies, for those Aggies might agree. Anyway, so now I have a business degree. So I started the work in that realm, and having my boss, I still call her my boss, Annette Burris Clay. She had just stepped into her role as executive director at that time. And I think she saw me and allowed me to grow, because I started off in this very specific role, but I was very interested and immediately got drawn to just the type of folks that are in this work, the type of work, the nuances, the underdog of especially sexual assault, adult non-stranger, because those are so highly misunderstood. And I just got so captivated by that and wanted to help in any way. And so just kind of jumped around and did all these different positions at TAASA. At that level, at the entry level. I was very thankful for that. And then it seems like then all of a sudden I became a director of communications, and then Annette put me as deputy director. And then she was like, oh, by the way, I'm leaving next year. I was like, oh my gosh. And then luckily the board at that time thought that I was ready and knew I was ready, I should say. They knew I was ready and allowed me the opportunity to be CEO. But but that's kind of where I kind of fluctuated in and out of the positions to become here. But TAASA as a whole, like we are a membership organization with membership comprised of rape crisis centers, domestic violence shelters, the dual agencies, allied professionals like SANE nurses, those who work in the hospitals, in colleges, who do advocacy on college campuses. But more importantly, in law enforcement and all the different system partners. But more importantly, it's our membership is comprised of survivors of sexual assault. And so we take a lot of our cues from survivors of sexual assault. And everything we do is about being survivor centered, whether it's an in-house policy, like I was telling you, Thisha, that we're working on HR policies. Even then, I'm always looking at it through that frame of how can we be centered, people-centered, survivor-centered, even in the policies that we have for us at TAASA that are inward-facing and not necessarily outward-facing. So yeah, we are a membership organization and welcome anybody to join us, become a member if you'd like to, or if you just want to learn more about us, you can also just join our mailing list.
Awesome. And so tell us, I know that formerly when I used to be with the Bridge that I would often invite TAASA to come in to do training. So tell us a little bit more about the type of support that TAASA can provide to agencies and in the community.
Yes, we have. I think I'm so proud of the staff that we have at TAASA. A lot of staff has either worked at the local level at a standalone rape crisis center, or they've worked at a dual sexual assault domestic violence agency. Or worked directly with survivors of sexual assault, some with children and some with adults and some both and all around, through that spectrum. But what we can do is one of the easiest things is we can offer training to like just your community, to law enforcement. A lot of the times, folks are like, our law enforcement needs training. And just in addition to that, what the governor's office, TAASA's on the Sexual Assault Survivor Task Force. We're one of the legislatively mandated partners, and we're also on the steering committee, which is written in that bill as well. So we help, lead the charge on this along with the governor's office and CAC Texas. But one of the things that the governor's office did is they did, some research to find out what kind of training is law enforcement getting? And of course, they learned, as we all knew as advocates, is nothing's consistent across the state. But also what I thought was really interesting is that the law enforcement offices that they contacted, that they said just overwhelmingly said the best training they've gotten on sexual assault is through the local program. So I think that's great. And oftentimes the local program will ask us to come down and provide that training in conjunction or alongside them. So that's just one of the many things that we offer. Right now, SARTs is the big thing. SARTs are mandated in coverage in every county. That was a law that TAASA pushed through the ledge and was very excited that it went through. But right now we're going across the state and talking to different SARTs about what the law says and how we can help and partner and bring together other state entities that can help them as they get to dictate what happens locally. And we just kind of stand in the background to provide them information as they need it. So training TA on a multitude of issues, or if you just want to have a conversation or bring us in to talk to your staff about sexual harassment, what does this mean? Again, we always defer to the local program, but we oftentimes work in conjunction with them to customize whatever's needed for those who ask for assistance from us.
And always did an amazing job. I loved collaborating with TAASA when I was with the Bridge. So a couple of acronyms you said, and for those who will come back and watch the replay, recognizing that some people may not be familiar, the SART. Share a little bit about SART and what that means.
Okay, the SART is a sexual assault response team. And so before this passed the 87th legislative session, which just happened here in 2021, we have three special sessions. All that, I won't go into that. But one of the bills that TAASA passed was that there needed to be SART coverage for adult sexual assault survivors. That's mainly for adult, again, sexual assault survivors, coverage in every county. We got that. Actually, survivors of sexual assault on TAASA Survivor Advisory Board, and I can talk about that in a second, that was something that came up from them. And also our just process through legislation to figure out what we want to go after is we want to hear from on the ground. And that was something that was a main course that we heard across across the state, whether it was rural counties, suburban counties, and even urban counties, is that there's this thing missing, and it's a SART that's being mandated. It was not mandated before this. And again, they all said the same thing. Similar to like an MDT, it's mandated that you have these meetings and talk about these certain things. They wanted, we heard across the board from survivors to those who are doing the work, that we needed to have a mandate to have an adult sexual assault response team. And so that was signed into law, and it started September 1st of 2021. And there are some deadlines there that we've been working with different folks across the state to be able to meet those deadlines, or to, or how to navigate those things. But we've been busy with that here lately, but we are absolutely available to help through those processes as they begin the SARTs, and what is a SART, and what's the infrastructure piece I need to do first, and then what are these other things I need to do. So me and my team, we've been working with SARTs across the state on that.
Okay, awesome. And then the CAC, I think that's the Children's Advocacy Centers, correct?
Yes, the Children's Advocacy Center. And they also have a statewide, it's like we have TAASA, the Texas Association Against Sexual Assault. So the Child Advocacy Centers have a statewide partner, and it's a Texas CAC, Texas Child Advocacy Center, or Child Advocacy Centers of Texas. I'm so sorry. That is what they have. So we've been working together with them on a lot of issues. It's been really great. One is being the task force at the governor's, the Sexual Assault Survivor Task Force at the governor's office. And others, it's just as we've seen things come up, like, for example, you have sexual assault advocates who respond to the hospital through the law. Sexual assault advocates are unique in that they are written in law, and that they are the advocates that are referred to when it says that an advocate shall be offered to a sexual assault survivor at the exam room. So it's, Texas CAC and TAASA have put together a document, and we're about to release it, which is exciting, about how to navigate that. Because you have some spaces where CACs and rape crisis centers or sexual assault programs work very well together. And there are other spaces where they have to, well, am I showing up, or are you showing up? And what is all these kind of things. So we were putting some guidance to kind of help those two work together, because they're powerful assistance to the survivor. And I'm a firm believer, if we kind of stay in our lanes, but work together, that's what the survivor deserves from us. And so that we're just putting some guidance to help with that. But again, locally, what works locally, it always takes precedent. And we're here just to provide information and guidance when we can.
Awesome. And for people, as you're coming in, today we are having a conversation with Rose Luna, who is the CEO of Texas Association Against Sexual Assault. And so please feel free to make comments or ask questions. So you also said you were going to mention something about the advisory board. So tell us about the advisory board.
Yes. So the Survivor Advisory Board. So Amanda Lewis on our staff, who is just this amazing visionary, she came to me and she said, I think it would be cool if we had a survivor advisory board that could kind of, check on the things that we are doing, or that we could ask questions about, kind of a way to really walk the talk on being survivor centered. And I was like, oh my God, what a great idea. So she went through that. She created an application process, brought in some key survivors, and they together created this application process and kind of set up that infrastructure. And so they meet every month. We have a clear line of communication between myself and them with our legislative stuff that we're just now gearing up for the next session. They're going to be involved in that as well. So it's just a way for us to stay grounded and survivor centered by having a sounding board, or for them to be able to bring things up to us. Maybe if we do something and they're like, hey, that's interesting that y'all did that. Can you tell me more about, that? Or we're like, hey, we're thinking about this program. How can we make sure that we are thinking of all the things in regards to being survivor centered? How can we do that? So we have this survivor advisory board at TAASA that we're very proud of. I don't think it's happening anywhere else in the country. As a matter of fact, we have other states that have heard about us doing that are now coming to us and saying, hey, can you share the infrastructure piece so that we could do that at our coalition as well?
I love that. And you said it was Amanda Lewis?
Amanda Lewis, yeah, at TAASA.
Okay.
That was her idea.
Because I love that. And I don't think, I'm thinking about even within quote unquote, the domestic violence programs, I'm wondering if that is something that's being done.
That's a great idea.
I love it. So see, that's why I love having these conversations with people, because it's like, there's things that I don't know about. And so again, we hope that this every episode brings value to those of you who show up live and who watch the replay, because there are so many different resources. And again, that's the whole purpose of HCDVCC Connects, is to make sure that people have access to services, hold perpetrators accountable, and prevent further acts of violence. And so having individuals like yourself, Rose, who are coming out and sharing about your programs, again, it just helps us to do a more effective job in working with survivors. So Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month. It's that time of year, and we recognize that it happens 364, 24/7, unfortunately. However, share with everyone about some of the things that are going on through TAASA and across the state when it comes to raising awareness and, most importantly, prevention.
So one of the easy ways I think to get involved in that is we have a Turn Texas Teal, hashtag Turn Texas Teal social media campaign. And we also have a document that kind of lays out the different significant dates within April that you can participate by putting a picture online. I know Denim Day is coming up. There was a Teal Selfie Tuesday or something like that. So we have all of that. And Tisha, I can send you that link that we can send out immediately if folks want to.
Awesome.
Or they can come to TAASA. I'm sorry, or they can go to TAASA.org. We have it there too. But I can send it.
Rebecca is our social media director. She's probably going to put it in the chat box any minute.
Awesome. That'd be great. So yeah, we have that. And another thing that we wanted is to hear from like the different programs around the state. Like, what are y'all doing? And we wanted to put that and compile that together. I just think it gives people ideas. Like, I know sometimes when there's something happening in South Texas, the folks in North Texas are like, that is a brilliant idea. I'm going to try that. Of course, I'll have to tweak it, but I'm going to try that. So that's another thing that we were trying to get folks to share with us. What are you doing for Sexual Assault Awareness Month? And what we're learning is there's amazing folks doing great, innovative things this month to bring about that awareness, to bring about the conversation about prevention, and even just having that courageous conversation about what does this mean for those folks that aren't in our world, like having that conversation with at the PTA meetings, or I know no one wants to talk about it, but they need, when they ask, here's how you can bring that up in a way that doesn't scare the hell out of everybody, but at the same time makes it impactful because it affects all of us. Absolutely.
Yes, and that right there could be a whole nother conversation. So with all of that said, there's two final questions that I wanted to ask of you. The first question is, we're getting ready to head into, I believe it's the 88th legislative session, 2023. And so here is the reality, that I believe that there's some amazing laws that have been passed. However, there's always still work to do. So I'm wondering, what are some things that TAASA is looking at as we get ready to move into the next legislative session?
So right now, the policy team, they're gearing up, and what they're going to do like this summer is they're going to get with key stakeholders. So in other words, those folks that are actually doing work on the ground, because the last thing I want to do while I'm leading TAASA is just for us to come up with, here's what needs to happen across the state. We're in Austin. I love Austin, but Austin is not West Texas. Austin is not South Texas. Austin is, and they're on. So what we do is what we're doing now is we're going to get with folks who are doing the work on the ground, not only sexual assault and domestic violence programs, but also with law enforcement agencies, with SANE nurses, and with campuses, with all these other folks that are actually interfacing with survivors. And in addition to the Survivor Advisory Board, to figure out what is happening, what tweaks could be made, what are some barriers right now that we could maybe address with state law, and all those different things. So that's where we are now, is coming together to gather that data, gather that information, and then we'll formulate some agenda items, which then at that time, TAASA membership will vote on to say, yep, sounds good. And then we go after that because, oh my God, just to think about, November is when pre-filing starts, November of this year. So I felt like we just finished and here we are again. But that's the process at TAASA, is that we really take the time and the intention to get with those who are doing the work, for them to inform, along with survivors of sexual assault, to inform our legislative agenda as it goes through the process. And then also keeping folks, involved. Last year we had the TAASA talks, and that was like, I was telling the team, we have so many people that ask me, where are we at? How can I help? What's this process like? And so we created TAASA Talks the 87th last year. We'll have a TAASA Talks again for the 88th next year. But we had it every so often. And we just laid out, here's where we are in the process. Here's where you can come in. Here's what that means, to kind of bring it down to someone who doesn't have time to research the process. What does this mean? Just kind of making it in a concise, sizable chunks so that everyone's aware of what's happening. And so that's kind of like the life, the life process of our legislative items. But yeah, right now we're gathering data, and then we'll be voting on our legislative agenda this fall.
Okay, excellent. And so for those who want to follow TAASA, you're on all social media platforms, correct?
Absolutely.
So just that they just put TAASA in for all the social media, they'll be able to find you.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. And so the conference. So when is the next conference?
I'm so excited. We're going to be in Houston. We have been trying to get to Houston since 2020, but there was some other thing that happened.
That's a whole other issue.
But we are so excited to finally. TAASA's never been to Houston. I have no idea why. And I've been at TAASA forever. Never. And we're going to be there. We're so excited. July 11th through the 13th. We're going to be in Houston. And it's going to be in person, y'all. We're bringing people. We're going to take measures. We're listening to CDC and all that kind of stuff. We hear that maybe a little uptick this summer, hopefully, or by the fall, maybe it'll come after. But we're either way going to take precautions where folks can come in person, come to Houston, and participate in all the great social and connecting kind of type of activities that only a in-person conference can bring in. Also for us to get to see the city. I think Houston is just a gorgeous city with so much to do.
Yes. And so when does registration open up for that?
It's supposed to open up April, like the 18th-ish. And we'll send out, we'll put it on our social media platforms, and we'll send it out through our email. And our theme this year is TAASA is turning 40. And we're going to make it more of a celebration of honoring the past. And we're going to have some really great like opening keynotes, bringing in some folks from the past to talk about how it's kind of the same thing, but how far we may have come and how far we still have to go in learning and unlearning. You know what I mean? Awesome. And we're going to make it more of a celebration. We're going to sell t-shirts like flirty and 40, or I'm 40 and fierce, all those kind of fun things. So I'm going to pretend like I'm 40 again and wear that t-shirt.
yeah, me and you both, right? So that is exciting. So we will definitely share that information as well. And, we have a weekly newsletter. So, I will make a note. And also if you'll, I don't know who I would need to get in contact, but we could actually put something in the newsletter.
That would be great.
To help with registration. Because here's the thing, I believe that probably almost all the agencies in our area are what's considered dual agencies. Mm-hmm. And we know the intersection of domestic violence and sexual violence. So definitely want to help get that word out and to help TAASA celebrate turning 40.
Absolutely.
Well, as we get ready to bring this conversation to an end, I simply want you to share in the time we have left, why is it so important for us to be having conversations about sexual violence?
It is so important. And it's because this affects all of us. This is that one thing that we all want to find safety, or if I only had this much money, if I only had, it doesn't matter. Sexual assault is one of those things that happens across the board. And the good news is that there are things we can do to help prevent. There are things that we can do to help even address the underlying conditions that enable this to happen. That's more long-term work. But it's so important because even if you're just a parent and you have a child who's going to go into college and you have all these questions, or, I remember when my nephew was going to college, I thought, gosh, this is, I see why people get that fear, the parents of sons, like, what if somebody accidentally says it? And then, but that's not how it works. What I told my nephew basically was that if you're in a situation and you see something that's not right, If you can intervene safely, do that. If not, you need to go and call somebody, law enforcement or somebody to come in and intervene for that person. But it's something that affects us all, and a lot of us we're so busy getting kids in school, getting our things together, doing checklists for all this that none of us stop to think, what if this affects me or my friends or my family? What can I do? So Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month is so that we can just at least know where to go, have those courageous conversations to learn a little bit more. And adult sexual assault survivors, I feel, are the ones that fall through the cracks the most because it's so misunderstood. The victim blaming is so high and strong for that particular subset of sexual assault survivors that this is the month that we want to put information out there to help minimize the misconceptions out, so that hopefully they will then come forward a little bit more, or the disclosure rates will be met with, I'm so sorry. If you don't learn anything else from this today, and if you're not in our field, if someone discloses to you that something happened to them, all you have to do is to say, I am so sorry this happened to you. Can I help you find and connect you to resources? That's the only question we need to ask them, not what were you wearing? What were you thinking? Can I help you find resources? Here's where you can go to connect to someone who's an expert in this area that can help you.
Love it, love it. And you are right. I think, no matter what age the violence happens, definitely, however, I think that there is a lot of blame when the survivor is an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for the 20 years that you've been doing this work, the commitment. Thank you for all the work that TAASA does, and looking forward to the 40th celebration of Texas Association Against Sexual Assault. All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to bring you back down to the green room. Don't go away. I always like to have a closing conversation with my guest. But again, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank y'all for watching, whoever's watching.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you all for being here with us today. And for those who will watch the replay, thank you for your flexibility. And we will not be here next Monday. We will not be here next Monday. We will be taking off. We will return on the 25th, and guest to be named. But thank you. Thank you so much. Because for those of you who have watched live, those who have watched the replay, on behalf of the Harris County Domestic Violence Coordinating Council, I want to thank you all for showing up. This program got started at the height of the pandemic as a way for our organization to continue to stay in contact with our community and also provide resources to community partners in law enforcement, healthcare providers, and survivors. So thank you for your support of HCDVCC Connects. And everyone have an amazing upcoming week and holiday weekend, if you will be celebrating the upcoming holiday. And we will see you on the 25th. All right. See you next time.